Hi, this is Ike from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to read to you. Today's book is Donald Duck Toy Sailboat for 1954. So let's get started. There, said Donald Duck, at last stunned. He stood back to look at his toy sailboat. Making it had been a big job. He had taken him all summer long, but now the boat was finished, and it was a beautiful boat. The mantel was just the place for it, too. The whole room looked better with the sailboat up there. Building a sailboat is hungry work, Donald said to himself, so he fixed himself a fine big lunch. Now to try out the boat in the lake, he thought, but his hard work had made him sleepy too. So Donald Duck settled down for a nap after lunch. After that, he would try out the boat. Now outside Donald Duck College, in the old elm tree, there lived two chipmunks, Chip and Dale, and they had no lunch at all. I am hungry, said Chip, rubbing his empty middle. Me too, said little Dale, but suddenly he brightened. Look, he said. Chip looked and looked. At last he spied it. One lone acorn still clinging to of an oak tree down beside the lake. Down the elm tree they raced, across to the oak tree, and up its rough bark trunk. Mine's, cried Chip, reaching for the nut. I saw it first, Dale cried. So they pushed and they tugged and they tussled until the acorn slipped through their fingers and fell kaplunk into the lake. The little chipmunks looked mighty sad as they watched the acorn float away. But Dell soon brightened. Look, he cried. Chip looked. On a little island out in the middle of the lake stood a great big oak tree, weighing down, weighed down with acorns on every side. Down to the shore, the chipmunk ran, but brr, it was too cold to swim. How can we get to them? Wondered Chip. I don't know, said Dale, but soon he had an idea. Look in there, he said. On the mantel in Donald Duck College, they could see the toy sailboat. Come on, said Dale. So away they raced straight into the college store. They had the sailboat down and almost out the door when Donald Duck stirred in his sleep. Nice day for a sail, he said dreamily, as the boat slipped smoothly past his eyes. Soon after Donald woke up completely. Now to try out my boat, he cried. Suddenly something outside the window caught his eye. It was his sailboat out on the lake. I'll fix them, Chipmunk, Donald said. He pulled out his fishing rod and reeled and chose a painted fly. It looked like a nut. This will do, Donald grinned. From the pier, he cast as far as he could, flinging that little fishing fly. With a plop, it landed beside the toy boat. Look, look at this, cried Dale. He leaned over the edge of the boat to pull in the floating fly. Good, a nut, said Chip. We'll toss it in and hold and have for supper tonight. As soon as it was fast in the hole, Donald pulled in the line. He pulled that little boat right into shore. The chipmunk never suspected a thing. They did not even notice Donald Duck pouring water into the cabin of the boat. Chip discovered that when he went into the cabin. Man the pumps, he cried. Those chipmunk worked with might and main while Donald watched and laughed. Ha ha, at Donald chuckled. The, the trips looked up. So that the trouble, Dale cried. He pulled out the fishing fly from the hole and flung it at Donald so that it was soon tangled up in the fishing line. While Donald tried to tug himself free, the chook sailed the sail once more. Before Donald could launch his swift canoe, they had touched at the island shore. And Donald would paddle and brushy along. He heard a brush rat tat tat. The oak tree on the island seemed to shiver and shake as its store of acorn rained down. The busy little chipmunks finished dancing on the branch. Then they hauled their harvest on board. "Oh well," said Donald, watching them from his canoe. "At last I know the sailboat ready will sail. Now let's just see what those little fellows do." And you can guess what the chipmunks did. They stored their nuts in a hollow tree, and they took Donald's sailboat right back and put it where it belonged. So that was Donald Duck toy sailboat from 1954. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day. And our next book will be Donald Duck Instant Millionaire.